Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point Network, the American Family Radio Talk Network, AFR Talk. Just got through listening to Rafael Cruz telling us exactly whom we are to vote for. We are to vote for able men. We need to make sure that the candidates that we vote for can do the job, that they have some kind of experience that qualifies them for the job that they're undertaking. We have seen over the last 4 years, the last 6 years now, going on 6 years, what happens when you have somebody who is completely unqualified for the job, has never exercised executive power, has never managed anything, has never run anything. The level of ineptitude and incompetence is just staggering now, and even Democrats are starting to pick up on this. In fact, let us grab the... Let's grab clip number 7 if we can, Rob. Let's throw these in here while we're on the subject of electing people that are able. This is Pat Caddell, who is a Democrat strategist, and he is talking here about President Obama. Remember, Moses said, look, if you're going to select somebody, or God says, or Jethro says to Moses, this is God speaking through Jethro, his father-in-law, look, if you're going to select men for public office, make sure that they are capable men, that they give you some reason to believe they have the capacity and the ability to do the job. Here's Pat Caddell, Democratic strategist, clip 7 on Barack Obama.
Look, you know, this is a president who said, I know nothing. The Sergeant Schultz defense, as it was with the IRS, as it is with every scandal, as it was been got, I don't know. I know nothing about it. You know, the problem is that there is a culture in Washington that John was alluding to and I was trying to refer to earlier, of our government, of the government complex, which is everyone in Washington is there to serve themselves. We have people in the VA getting bonuses for killing people. Obama hasn't cared anything about it any more than he has cared about what happened at the IRS or anything else. But the culture here is unbelievable. It is that the people serve the government. Government is there for us to feather our nest. The VA is the worst example, and it's so amazing now to see even people in my party upset who can't seem to get themselves upset about all the other scandals. But it is a mentality in Washington that says people and as John said. And it's really, and the president, he doesn't really care. I'm sorry to be so cynical, but truthful.
So he says, look, the president just doesn't care. He's the last to find out. He's the ultimate low information voter, if you think about it. You cannot find a more low information voter than our own president, ladies and gentlemen. He always finds out everything on the news. In other words, he finds out about what's happening to his country. He finds out what's happening inside his administration after you and I do. We find out about it, according to him and according to Jay Carney, we find out about it before they do. He's always the last to know. He's the ultimate low information voter, and he is running this country. Rafael Cruz said, look, the first thing you want to look for in a potential holder of public office is ability. Can he do the job? Clip number 8. This is John King now on CNN talking with Maggie Haberman, who's a liberal panelist, and they also are talking about President Obama and what's now sort of percolating to the surface in the Democratic Party. Let's listen.
Forget for a moment that Republican outrage. More and more Democrats in key 2014 races are calling for the president to get a spine, they say, and fire his Veterans Affairs Secretary. And what more and more Democrats are saying privately is scathing, calling the president and his team detached, flat-footed, even incompetent. Maggie Haberman, that's what strikes me, what Democrats are saying privately. In the wakes of the healthcare.gov problems, they see a president who doesn't want to take command, doesn't want to act fast, raising the competence question. Some Democrats who believe in government, this White House doesn't appear to have its hand on the lever.
Yeah. So he says, look, this is coming from people who believe in government. They believe in the capacity of government to solve problems. For them, government is God. They worship government like you and I worship God. Government is the solution to every problem. We believe that God is the solution to every problem. If you have a problem, government is there to meet your need. We believe that if we have a problem, God is there to satisfy that need. So they look at government the same way that we look at God. They believe in government. They believe in the infinite capacity of government to fix what's wrong with our society. And these are the people that are saying, look, President Obama is incompetent. He is flat-footed. He is detached. They are raising the competence question. And again, I want you to understand here, these are not words that I am using here in this little segment. These are words that are coming from hardcore liberals. That President Obama is perceived now by people in his own political party as someone who is detached. He doesn't care. That's exactly what Pat Caddell was saying. Here is a president that's always lecturing us about lacking in compassion and being hard-hearted, and he simply does not care. He doesn't seem to care about what's happening in the Veterans Administration, the number of people that are dying. You know, and Pat Caddell seems like a decent human being. He's appalled at the fact that people in the VA are actually getting bonuses when people die. Because when people die, remember, they can just drop them off of their list, off of their rolls. That person's no longer on a wait list because they're dead. And because their wait list is shorter, because people are dying on them, they get bonuses for efficiency. I mean, that's about as an obscene setup. And even Pat Caddell, who's a Democrat but a decent human being, even he is appalled by this. And yet we have a president seems entirely unmoved by the kind of suffering. You know, and we've talked before about this immigration deal where the DREAM Act is enticing parents to send their kids as young as 3 years old across the border in the hands of coyotes. They pay them who knows how many thousands of dollars to smuggle their kids, so their own parents have been enticed by the DREAM Act to engage in putting their own children in a system of human trafficking, turning their own children, some as young as the age of 3, over to these total strangers. They lose complete control of them, and these coyotes can sell them into sex trafficking, human trafficking, you name it. The conditions are appalling, and they get them across the border because they've heard that even the Republicans are all about amnesty. So they just believe if I can just get my vulnerable young child across the border, nobody's ever going to make them leave. They're going to be there forever. So here's a policy that sounds compassionate on the surface, but it's putting thousands and thousands and thousands of vulnerable young children at risk, and that is just simply unconscionable. Now back to Rafael Cruz, clip number 4. Remember, Rafael Cruz said, look, the Bible tells you who to vote for. Vote for able people who fear God, fear his standards. So you're not going to want a guy that doesn't believe in the scriptures and the moral values and the truth claims of the word of God, somebody that fears God, somebody who is trustworthy, someone whose word you can believe. Remember, President Obama won the award from the liberal media, PolitiFact, last year for the lie of the year. The lie of the year came from our own president. If you like your doctor, you can keep him. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. That was the lie of the year. So he's proven that he is not trustworthy. We put someone who was untrustworthy in the chief office in the land. And then the last thing is somebody who hates a bribe, who is incorruptible, who can't be bought, is not in it for the money, not in it for the power. And then Rafael Cruz at the end of that soundbite talks about the fact that Jethro instructed Moses, look, you have you have men over thousands, over 500s, over hundreds, over 50s, and over 10s. And Rafael Cruz talked about how that's the federal government, that's state government, that's municipal government, that's local government. You get things down to the local level. And he said that's right out of the Constitution, very consistent with what the Constitution teaches. This is clip number 4. Let's listen.
That is Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. That's the 9th Amendment and the 10th Amendment. The essence of federalism in 2 verses of Scripture. Article 1, Section 8, the 9th Amendment, the 10th Amendment. Article 1, Section 8 is called the enumerated powers of Congress. 18 powers enumerated in Article 1, Section 8. If it's not there, the federal government's got no business being involved in it. Let me give you a couple of examples of things that are not in Article 1, Section 8. Education. You don't find that anywhere in Article 1, Section 8. And isn't it absurd that a bunch of unelected bureaucrats in Washington will tell us how to educate our children and grandchildren? That decision needs to be with the local school board, with parents, and with teachers. If you follow Article 1, Section 8, the Department of Education is unconstitutional. The best thing we could do with it is abolish it, get rid of it. Let me tell you another word that is not in Article 1, Section 8. Environment. And I'll tell you what, if there is a single agency of the federal government that is most responsible for the economic malaise that we have in this country, that is doing more to destroy our country, destroy our economy, is the EPA. It's not in Article 1, Section 8.
That's Rafael Cruz, Article 1, Section 8. If it's not in there, government can't do it. Education's not in there. Environment's not in there. Number to call if you want to join our conversation today, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. President Obama is going to be out there today, or this week anyway, releasing new carbon emission restrictions. This is all to solve the problem of global warming, which, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem that does not exist. Realize that all this business about carbon emissions and reducing carbon emissions and restricting carbon emissions, it is pointless unless there is a catastrophic risk of global warming. And there is no global warming at all, let alone some kind of catastrophic risk of global warming. So these are going to drive energy prices through the roof. It's the one promise that President Obama kept. These are all on coal-fired plants. He said, look, if you elect me president, you can have your coal-fired plant, but I will bankrupt you in the process. He used that word. I'm going to bankrupt coal-fired plants. Now, 40% of our electricity comes from coal, ladies and gentlemen. It is not replaceable through wind, not replaceable through solar. I got a story here from CBS. Speaking of global warming, the beaches are now open at Lake Michigan. Just opened them over the weekend. They opened officially Friday. The Lake Michigan water temperatures are among the coldest ever for this time of year. Coldest ever for this time of year. Antarctica, I'm looking at the chart. There's been no warming in Antarctica since 1979. Zero, zip, nada. No warming at all in the Antarctic since 1979. Antarctic sea ice has been above normal every day for the last 30 months. Every day, last 30 months, Antarctic sea ice above normal. There is no catastrophic global warming.